So guys, my Rx10 Mark IV. It's 2 and a bit years old. Still in relatively good condition. But it has got, I don't know if you can see that now, how close this will focus. Plenty of scuffs, scratches, and marks on it from where it's been used. Still focuses and everything's absolutely fine. No problem at all. But you can hear that sand where I've used it in extreme conditions. Sand has got inside, but still no troubles. It still works. There's no delay, nothing at all. No troubles whatsoever. One thing that's kept my screen in quite good condition is you can see, you go sideways there, you can see the viewfinder sticks out the back, but also my tripod mount that sticks there. So that's given it bash protection. So no problems with that at all. Pop-up flash still works, no trouble. Yeah, it's just been a really good camera. Let's say it's still covered in sort of sand on it now. No trouble whatsoever. It's got a UV filter on it, always has had. But yeah, no, it's been an absolute beast and still a tool today, 2 and a bit years down the line. So with the Rx10 Mark IV with its 24 frames per second bursts and its 24 to 600mm lens, it has become one of the most used cameras in my collection, and it's just awesome. It does struggle in a couple of situations, very low light, for example, high ISO, but generally it's an amazing piece of kit. It's not ultimately massive, doesn't weigh a lot. Battery life, yeah, it could do with a bigger battery, but you make do. You put a couple in your pocket, not the end of the world. As you can see here, these are some of my, let's say, favourite shots I've taken over the last couple of years with the Rx10 Mark IV. Messing around with filters, as in on the camera, not in Photoshop. A couple of shots here, relatively local to where I am, over Dungeness Way. Shooting wide angle, shooting long exposures as well, shooting wide angle but close down in the grass, for example, f16 to get the starburst off the sun, but really close focus at wide angle. It just performs really well. There's a lot to say about the camera, but also the fact that you just get on with it, use it, and you get some results that are always generally quite pleasing. Every now and again you do struggle with it, but that's just down to either bad luck or the lighting. The day itself was pretty poor. As you can see, you do get a little bit of flare, but nothing major. Sunsets and stuff always look pretty good. Really quite happy with it, especially if you get a hot air balloon in shot. Putting it into its extremes, shooting straight into the sun, trying to get a bit of interest. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it kind of looks quite cool. Similar shot again. It's where the sun's going down into the thin clouds and just basically just glaring off. But there's loads of dust and everything coming up over there, so you can see the shot. As you can see here, it's just the dynamic range of the images is actually quite good. It's not as much as the A7R3, A7R4, something like that, but you can get shots like this with ease. It's weather sealed enough that actually I've never got it wet enough to worry. It's been soaked with like salt water. You may have seen that video with the wave coming over me, but no issues. Always wipe it down afterwards. But getting shots like this with ease, no messing around changing lenses, it's just brilliant. The fact that you've got an f4 600mm lens allows you to take shots that others can't do. This shot here, just so you know, is at ISO 1000. It was just, I kind of took it. There is a video on here as well, in the Rx10 playlist. It just shows you that it can do ISO 1000, and it's not that bad. Only when you start pixel peeping, it's noticeable. Into wildlife, so I've sort of going to categorise this a little bit. So there's going to be another part, and probably another part after that, of different types of photos I've taken. So we're into wildlife now, and obviously some in captivity, some pets, some wildlife, like this seagull here was a bit interested. But that's taken at 600mm f4. I also focus locking straight onto the seagull's eye, no trouble whatsoever. Seagull flying over. There's going to be quite a few seagull shots, sorry. I live by the sea. So, you know, birds in flight, no trouble at all. The camera tracks very, very quickly. It's very rare that you actually get a bad shot unless you make a mistake with the shutter speed. So if your shutter speed is too slow and you're not panning fast enough to match the speed of the bird, you're going to get a blurred shot. You know, it's sharp, really sharp. And having a smaller sensor isn't necessarily always bad, because it's a smaller sensor, your depth isn't quite as shallow as you are when you're using a full frame sensor. So actually it helps you sometimes by getting things like birds and everything just in focus a little bit more. So you do end up with a better shot than, or a more pleasing shot, should I say, than if you're wide open with a full frame camera. So, you know, you don't have to stop down, which means ideally you can utilise the light that's there, or if it's, you know, if the light's going, you can still shoot f4. So in some respects it does actually help you get a more pleasing shot. 600mm f4, absolutely lovely. These birds are awesome, flattering around and stuff like that, but to get a shot like that with ease, with, you know, quality, yes, you can do this with a compact, but you haven't generally got a 600mm f4, so you can't blur the background out as easy. This shot here, I'm a bit gutted, but I chopped his tail off, but he was walking at the time and he sort of appeared through a bush, so I kind of had half a second to capture that. I think that's a kite, local to me. There's a few nesting, some more birds of prey. Some of these were in captivity, some I was doing a job with the Kent Owl Academy as well. This is a starling sitting on I think it's a telephone wire. But another bird here. This is quite funny. So this shot here, buzzard cruising around, and it gets photobombed by a swallow doing about 300 miles an hour, just bursts into shot. Luckily the buzzard had actually changed direction by then and stayed out of the view of the swallow, but it was quite amusing. Didn't get shat on, luckily. Took a different angle, but I just thought it was just different. You just got to look at things and maybe try different angles and things like that. But the colours of a starling, I never knew, especially from a younger age. We just think starlings were just a pest, but actually they're stunning. The colours, the greens and the things like that, purples in them, are amazing. I think it's a swallow chirping his head off. But like I say, all these shots, I try and keep the Rx10 Mark IV down at ISO 100 as much as you can. Like I say, it can do up to ISO 1000 still with a relatively pleasing shot, and you're going to see some extremes later as well. This shot through sort of undergrowth, looking at the bird of prey there, still locking on quite happily. This shot here was quite cool, outside my mum and dad's front door. So having this camera just with you 90% of the time, you can just turn it on, zoom in, and you're getting the shots that you really wanted. You know, and putting it into spot focus small, so basically you can focus through the branches, it helps you even more. I think it's a little owl. And then at the Owl Academy we were doing birds in flight, so we were shooting with a Sony A9, the Rx10 Mark IV, which is the shot for, just to show you kind of how far it'll bank out and actually get the shots in its focal area. And also the A7R3 at the time, and the A7R3 couldn't keep up. The A9 and the Rx10 Mark IV were absolutely fine. Every single shot was in focus, so it just proves the point that was much faster. Haven't tried it yet with the A7R4, but I love these shots. The sunlight was quite high, so it was actually coming through the trees, quite difficult. It was quite difficult to get the light, but obviously once the sun moved around, we had a bit better lighting, so it did make a difference. Little blue tit was nesting in a crevice in a bit of concrete, so bugs and stuff it was bringing out. Yeah, so the barn owl again. I think it was Silver, his name was. Lovely animal. And then an otter having a bit of breakfast. So that was the British Wildlife Centre. It was quite a good day out as well. So you've got the Kent Owl Academy, which is at the Kent Life Centre as well. So here's a spider, which is quite cool. So I think that's a load of eggs, which was interesting. You can get down to 92 centimetres at 600mm with the Rx10 Mark IV, so you can actually get quite close. Or you can go 24mm wide angle and get really close, but wide at the same time. So it does give you some really nice options. to be creative. This is one reason I love the camera, and getting shots like this, beautiful robin here, shooting wide open, obviously headshot, but obviously it softens off as well, a bit like this moorhen here. Very, very frosty morning at Bodiam Castle, and just wandering around. This is one of my favourite shots of 2019, down at Port Lympne Zoo, one of the lions. Perfect lighting, pretty much straight out of the camera, same as this shot here. The dark trees, and because it was the summertime with all the foliage and everything, it was blocking the light going into the undergrowth, so the sunlight lighting the lions themselves was obviously a light source, and everything else became dark, so it worked really, really nicely. But as you can see, I'm shooting through fences, by the way, so this is how well it works, shooting that into an eye of a lion, and side on as well. Plenty of detail, really, really sharp, and just a joy to use, and blow myself away. Met a couple of guys there. They were using, one guy was using a Sony as well, but he was using, I think it was an A7R2. As you can see here, that cheetah with a fly on its left ear, or near its left ear. Mother and one of the cubs there. It was just my friend's dog here, Opie, rather small Great Dane, having a drink. So some of these are just shots from out and about. They're nothing hugely special, but they're lovely memories. For doing things. One of the butterflies here, so you can get really close. These aren't cropped in, apart from you losing the top and the bottom of obviously 16:9 in the video. My sister's cat Buster, and then we got Bob, who likes to hide. This is taken from about 40 feet away with the flash popped up at 600mm, and it lit him up quite well actually, considering he was underneath the sofa. Friend Dave's dog, we have a Gallop as a puppy. He was quite cool, so we did some shots of him, and as you can see, absolutely fine. Probably not the sharpest shots, but the light was awful. It was really, really dull. And then these are at anywhere between ISO 800 and ISO 10,000. So really pushed the Rx10 Mark IV. This is the I suppose it's the Sea Life Centre as such. I think it's a Blue Lagoon or something like that. It's in Hastings, little Sea Life Centre. There is a video on here as well. And having that f4 lens and being able to focus at 92cm at 600mm, you can get shots like this. Some of the shots, obviously ISO is down as low as I possibly get it with the shutter speeds, but yeah, I was really quite impressed how well it did perform. The next shot is this guy here, which focused on his eye as much as I could, but you're looking, obviously you can see the scratches on the Perspex tanks, which is a real shame from kids and obviously scratching. Bullfrog, obviously not just sea life, they've also got other animals there as well. As I walked around, there was I think that's a conger or some kind of looks like a leopard, but I could be wrong. He was a evil bugger, but kind of cool. Right, this is shot at ISO 10,000, so this is what blew me away with the Rx10. It's not perfect, yeah, you can see quite a bit of noise and loss of colour and stuff, but it got the shot, and it was really quite dark there. This shot here of one of the fish, really quite nice. Out to the cats, back out of the water. Friend's cat there. Up at the stables, just having a wander around. The eye autofocus locking on. Eye autofocus does work quite well with some horses, but depending on their colour. So if they're darker and their eyes blend in, it's not going to see as well. A butterfly here, which was quite cool. And a goat eating some buttercups. So those two shots there were taken at the Rare Breed Centre, which is out near sort of towards Ashford Way, Woodchurch I think it's near. This is up on Dover Hills, or the cliffs, above the cliffs, looking down at the docks. Some wild ponies that have been there just to sort of keep the grass down, which worked quite nicely. And this is the reason why the camera is so good, because you can just wander around and get shots that no one else can really get at that quality, without carrying a massive lens around. Compacts, yeah, they're pretty good, but they're not at the same time. They do struggle sometimes. Still one of my favourite shots. It's obviously repeated, but it can stay in there. Definitely one of my favourite shots of the robins I've ever taken. Some deer at Knoll Park, which is National Trust property. Little baby deer there, or fawn, I think you call them. Right, and this green woodpecker, basically I kind of stalked him, using other trees to hide behind, and he spotted me, but I managed to get a couple of shots off. Little baby cub there just checking me out. But I'm around about 50 or 60 feet away, so that kind of gives you an idea of what I was shooting at through fences. British wildlife scented again. Unfortunately, we do get foxes around here, but they're very shy and they just leg it if you see them. But obviously allowing these ones here, shooting through fences again. So it's just good to be able to try the cameras out. And then dragonfly, so close up stuff. This is kind of as close as you can kind of get, really. This dragonfly was, I don't know, about 3 or 4 inches in diameter, its wingspan, so quite a nice size. And it's just, it was kind of cool. It was really quite a nice day. As you say, different shots there. It kept coming, and generally you got to remember with insects, they generally come back to spots that they know and trust. So that dragonfly kept coming back and coming back. So I just stood there and waited. This is at the Hurstman Zoo Castle medieval weekend. So we got I think it's a bird of prey. I can't remember which one, flying about, and he buggered off and then came back again eventually. But it was kind of cool, and just shows you can get some really kind of cool shots. So guys, that's part 2 of this sort of little set of videos I'm going to do. So I'm going to go try and go in a little bit of depth into different styles of photography that I actually do. Everything from lightning to the moon, a bit more close-up stuff, landscapes with long exposures, aircraft, and much more. And kind of just show you how usable this camera really is in my own experience. So just please make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to see some more. Click the notification bell. Also share it with your friends. Hopefully I can teach people anything you'd like to know. Please ask questions. I'm happy to try and help. And we shall see you soon.